All right, so I'm gonna call this what I don't know, like a budget mid-tier gaming PC build, gaming and streaming build PC. Some parts are a little excessive, some aren't. It kind of varies. It's gonna be interesting, but we'll go over what we got first. Over here, kind of off camera, you can see the corner. That's a Cougar MX330G Air case. That's the case we're going with. It was relatively good price for what it is. We'll get to see a lot more whenever we actually start building it. It came with 3 fans that are LED, not RGB, so they just are like a white light, but it still gives a kind of a cool light. It's got a nice side panel. From there, heart of this guy. Ryzen 5 3rd gen, 3600. I don't need, well, current gen that just released, kind of impossible to find right now, but I didn't need to pay for that much power because you still get a great bang for your buck for these things. These are great. I've been super happy with what I've been finding about them. We're also, because we're not right away going to be doing overclocking probably, it comes with a great stock cooler. It's not amazing, but it's also not the worst thing in the world. So we're actually going to use the stock cooler that comes with this too, which is super helpful. Motherboard is this Tough Gaming B450 Plus 2. Yes, it's a little bit older in the fact it's a B450. It's a cheap-ish, but not the cheapest board, and we still have a lot of room for upgrading. From there, we got a terabyte Crucial M.2 drive. Pretty standard. It's not the fastest one on the cheaper end, but it's still faster than a regular SSD, and it's going to be great. Then we got 16 gigs of just Ripjaw G-Skill RAM. It's going to be fun. Have I ever built a PC? Yes. Back in high school. And I'm like 3 years out of college now, so if that tells you anything. This was a pain to get, but we finally got our hands on a 1660 Super. The let's see here, it's the PNY, like already somewhat overclocked edition, which is going to be fun. It's actually really small. It's not going to take up a ton. We're not going to take up a ton of room for the case. It actually is great for like mini builds. But honestly, it's the only thing I could really get my hands on that I was wanting power-wise. We're not going anything above 1080p gaming to begin with, or release right now. So this is going to be perfect for that, especially with the Super. It gives us a nice little extra boost. It's a really good, kind of a good value right now. Final pieces. Our install drive, not too interesting. Oh, gosh, this thing is heavier than I was expecting. All right, EVGA 750 power supply. Now it's bronze. Yes, it's lower and it's cheaper, but honestly, most power supplies nowadays, as long as you have a recognizable brand, most of them will work just great. 750 is obviously kind of overkill for probably this machine to begin with, but it gives me a lot of room to upgrade in the future. I could end up putting a 3060 in here if I wanted, maybe a 3070. We'll see. We'll start with building everything we can onto the motherboard. And then we can start putting things in the case. This case, I don't think is going to be a big issue with it, but it helps if you build things that you can on the motherboard, so that when you add it to the case, you're not having to use it won't be tight space to start trying to put the rest of these things in. So let's get into this. Fun stuff about this board. Let's go into a little bit of that. We got 2 M.2 drives, but we're only going to use one. Got all our headers. We're going to be able to fill up. So this is going to be graphics card. Since it doesn't have built-in Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, we're going to put a Bluetooth card here. And then this expansion spot will be once we get the money to build put in a capture card. That's right. An actually better capture card. All right. Let's install our brain. This part, pull this up. It comes with a CD. Yeah, we ain't using that. That's funny. So this is the triangle that you line up with the triangle or the dot on the CPU. I've never actually held, oh wow. Okay, I've never actually held a CPU before. You can see all the tiny little pins. I do not want to mess up on this thing. This is so much denser than I thought it would be. And ta-da! It just drops in. So I'm actually building it kind of for both. A lot for gaming and streaming mostly, but it's probably going to become what's in there. And then to lock it in, bring this little lever down, click it in, and voila, we got our CPU installed. But so it'll be kind of it'll be great for all. It does give me a better upgrade path than like a Mac does for editing. I'll still probably do a good bit of editing still on my Mac just because it's mobile. Before we put the cooler on, I'm gonna go ahead and put in an M.2 drive. Also, like I said, we don't need this mounting hardware. We're gonna be using also, by the way, today to work on all of this. I bought this a little while back. An iFixit kit. If you probably seen them advertised around a lot. These things are honestly amazing. They have every kind of like bit you need. Hey, if I wanted a sponsorship, these would be the cool people to sponsor. Most coolers come with all sorts of different mounting hardware. This stock cooler just uses these holes, not these plastic parts. All right, so, nope, I keep prematurely reaching for my cooler. We want to put, because of where the M.2 drive goes, we want to go ahead and put this in. So if you guys know much about storage, you've gone from, it's crazy to think, you've gone from those giant hard drives to smaller hard drives to the smaller SSDs to now these SSDs, NVMe, I said that right, NVMe SSD, M.2 SSDs. These things are super fast and very tiny. Look at this thing. This is 1 terabyte. It's honestly on the cheaper end of drives of this sort. It's not the fastest or anything. I was keeping my price down somewhat. Eventually, so my plan is this is going to be 1 terabyte is because this is going to house the operating system and then any programs and then whatever current games I'm playing. I plan to get another drive that's just like a spinning hard disk drive to be able to back up footage and put anything that I'm not really playing game-wise onto it. Because honestly, those things don't need that much speed as one of these drives do. To install an M.2 drive, you honestly kind of put it in kind of at an angle. Let's see here, where am I? Here. No, slide in. And then you put it down. Oh, we're at an angle still. There we go. It's in, push it down, and then you put a screw in there to hold it in. There we go. Oh, here we go. Ta-da. Next up, let's go ahead and get the RAM in too before we put the cooler in. Like I said, we're working with some G.Skill, Ripjaws, 16 gigabytes of DDR 3600 RAM. Decently fast. I know Ryzen AMD builds usually like a decently fast RAM speed. Honestly, you could easily gotten away with 3200, and you can technically overclock RAM when you get into it. A lot of boards, especially with 4 memory slots, they kind of have a few different colors, but there's actually, you want to keep an eye out in the manual of your motherboard for how you want to configure your RAM. RAM configuration actually is kind of important. You don't want to just stick it in next to each other or in random spots, especially if you have two sticks, because you can do dual channel, which honestly helps with speeds and such. Let's see. This, you want to open up the holders, these little clips. Don't think those have any. Nope, they do. Nope, they don't. They just go on from the side then. Some have both, but let's see here. Yeah, they don't go back. Some have both of how they open up, but this just has these. You want to make sure you got the notch lined up correctly. Line it up. Come on, RAM. Stick it in. Hear that nice click. Click. And we got one stick of RAM in. Put it in. Click, click. There we go. Clicked in there. Nice and stuck. All right. Now we're good to go for the cooler. Oh, another piece I forgot to show. This is my cheap, I very much do mean cheap, Wi-Fi Bluetooth card that I got. I was okay to go a little bit cheaper with it. It had really good reviews. I was okay to go a little bit cheaper with this simply because my main streaming especially, I'm going to have a hard line, so it's going to be fine for that reason. And so Wi-Fi is just honestly a backup. Bluetooth is though they are built in for sure because I want to be able to use it for controller. All right, let's put the cooler on, and then we're gonna have to clear space, put the case down, and get to that work. You can see it comes with some pre-applied thermal paste on it. Line it up, stick it on, and then screw it in. This is the fan header, and it'll go up here. So that's why we want to have it kind of going this way. Oh my gosh. Make sure we get this lined up. I don't want to mess up the thermal paste. In these holes. Perfect. All right. Let's get screwing in the fan. I don't want to over tighten it, honestly. It has a good tension on it. I'm just gonna slowly go around in a kind of X formation, putting even pressure on it until we hit the spot we need to of tightness. Let's get this a little bit out of the way, and then let's get the case down and start building into it. So cheaper boards, if you ever worked with them, cheaper boards usually have these. Oh, my bad. I need this camera. AIO shields. They clip into your motherboard. Kind of keeps everything nice and close. One thing you want to make sure is these tabs, you want to make sure they're open and you're not blocking anything. Well, we're going to try it. All right, let's put in the motherboard. This hole, there's a hole up here that we probably want to use for a few things to go up there, mostly the one of the power cables. So we actually might want to get our power supply out and start messing with that. This is a, let's see, semi-modular power supply. So there are cables already connected to the power supply, and then there's also extra cables. Don't know how many of the extra cables we're really going to need right away. The fun part for me also is how do we get this to go in, but that's for a future Robert to find out. We're going to flip the case around. This thing is super light without any of the panels on. Right. How do we get this in? Can we slide it in from the side, or is there a different... Oh, we can just slide in from the side. That makes life easy. So, as weird as it might seem, you actually mount. I know there's not a ton of light right here right now. Let me see here. Do I have my phone nearby? I buried my phone, didn't I? I guess it'll turn up. Phone? Oh well. I'll find it. It's literally under something. Basically, how most cases nowadays work. So if you ever looked at an old computer, it used to be that the power supply would be up in the top. Well, they moved them down to the bottom, and you actually kind of mount it upside down so it brings in air, fresh air from the bottom. So that's also why when you put it upside down, all the lettering is correct, or a lot of it. And GPU, so cables on here that are built in already. This is for your motherboard. Also, for your motherboard, it's part of the CPU power. You can kind of see it says CPU. And then graphics card. Now, extra cables, that giant bundle is everything else. So like if you ever had an extra card in there or anything like that, you always want to hold these on because some of these are proprietary if you ever build and you have a modular or semi-modular. I'm going to go ahead, I'm not going to be connecting them today, but I'm going to go ahead and put in 1 or 2 SATA cable. Those are for, like, say, a hard drive. Oh, actually, so this actually fits what I need. It has multiple within it. So it's to power a hard drive if I want to install one or 2. That's what I plan to do. Again, you hold on to these because if you ever want to expand and put extra things into your computer, then that's what they're there for. This is where cable management gets interesting because you can have so many cables you have to deal with. And you want to make sure they're all kind of going somewhere. Comes with the screws. I feel like this has officially become a little bit everywhere. That motherboard was easy to film. This is getting harder to film. Oh my gosh, these are tight. But you want to obviously get your power supply pretty tightly in there. All right, let's get this in. All right, motherboard's in. Oh, here we go. Oh my gosh, it's becoming a real computer, guys. So let's start plugging in some power cables. Actually, or we could go ahead and put in the graphics card. This is my 1660 Super overclocked edition. Pretty happy with it. So we're gonna have to go ahead and put this in. Graphics card locked in. All right, now we gotta do the small cables. So there's small cables. It's no pressure at this point, guys. Actually, it's pretty tame. The main part is just getting the pins. So if you ever looked at the things you have to plug in sometimes, like there's these tiny pins. These things. Yeah, they literally fit on one little thing. They're tiny. And they're a pain because they slide onto a specific spot. And one's for like power on, one's for power LED. There we go. Oh. Underneath all the cables, have it running down, around. I like the hypes. We got 2 more fan headers to plug in. And then we're gonna Try her out. And this is the last one. Heck. Yes. Let's see if we can just turn it on, get Windows installing, and just hope for the best. I would not be surprised if we didn't post first time. It just happens. I have a few cables that could be wrong. Oh, here we go. Gonna try this out. Could be horrible. Actually we have some. Funny enough, something's working. We got some sort of lights going on. Haven't turned it on even. Wait. Yeah! Woo! We posted first time. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's crazy. Oh man. Okay, guys. Oh, it's quiet. Ooh, it's quiet. I love it. Oh my gosh, guys. All right. Let's install Windows. This is so cool. I'm glad you guys were here to hang out with me for this. I really appreciate it.